Well, hello and welcome. And today we are talking about a subject very dear to my heart and a subject which I think, as far as priority is concerned, there can't be anything above it. We are talking about teacher registration issues, so we are talking about teachers, therefore education at large. What sort of teachers are we providing and how are we treating teachers? How are we motivating them so they impact that into our children? Now, recently we heard that the government had called all teachers to look through all their certificates which they brought to get the hired into the GES system. Now, some have turned out to be fraudulent, and indeed ghost names have been with us for quite some time, and teachers being, I think, one of the largest employed body in the country, you tend to find there are more ghosts there. So we're looking to fish all these people out. But how about those who are there legitimately? Are the few bad nuts inconveniencing the good ones there? Now, once we have cleaned out this new registration system and we get the real ones and the ghosts come out, come next year, how do we stop new ghosts from coming in the classroom to teach? Indeed, if they turn out, that's what we're looking at today. I'll touch a little bit on the curriculum that's being taught at schools. Is it relevant in this day and age in the global world? Because the average class 1 student in Edumasa is competing with the average class 1 child in Hong Kong. Is there a real competition? But should there be? My name is Nana Sakwa, and this is PM Express. Don't move. Well, thank you very much for staying. And this is one subject which you definitely need to join, and it's 0560 800 000, because we are looking at teachers. No matter anything that concerns a teacher concerns a nation. Kings, soldiers, doctors, architects, laymen, street vendors, at some point in their life would go through a teacher. And therefore, the teacher's ability, the teacher's motivating is a crucial factor, so they impact that into the average citizen. And I have said, even though it's not scientifically proven, but I know confidently that any society, whatever value you place on your teacher is equal to the value of that society. So if you think teachers are rubbish, that society, believe it or not, turns out to be rubbish. If you value your teacher, that society will be a society of value. But we're looking at the issue of registration, which has come up. Some teachers have found themselves into the GES with fraudulent certificates. How was that? How did it happen? How many are there? And they're going through stringent methods to fish them out, giving them a 3 months back pay, and after they've cleaned it out, I think the legitimate ones will get full pay. We're looking at the inconvenience, and we're looking at stopping it from happening again. With me in the studio is Stephen Densu, who's with the Innovative Teachers Association, and he's a prime servant. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Nana.
Good. And I'm going to go on the phone and I'm going to speak to the GES PRO, who's Reverend Jonathan Betty. Reverend, hello and welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you very much. Reverend, we need some education here with regards to teacher registration. I mean, what's the formality and how come we get so many ghosts in our classrooms? And they don't teach, but they get wages.
You mean teacher registration as in what? Teacher, I want to hear you clearer.
Okay, I mean, it's come up that there are lots of teachers who came into the system with fraudulent certificates.
Okay.
Yes, and we're just trying to find out what's the loophole they're using. What is it that the GES missed that allowed so much teachers to slip in?
Well, let me thank you. Let me thank you so much, and thanking your listeners also this evening. But I want to say that GES does not allow anybody to come into our system with fake certificate or a certificate which is not acceptable into the teaching profession. Originally, the teaching profession is a noble profession which we expected our teachers to be morally upright, and because we know that we impart knowledge into our children and we are building a formidable society as Ghana, we expected people who will be imparting knowledge to be exemplary. So Ghana Education Service does not encourage people to come into the system with a fixed certificate or certificate is not allowed into the system. But in a brief, I just want to say that the people entered into training college with a certain criteria. If I'm not lost from your question, I want to say that they have entered into training college, passed out from training college, and received certificates as people who completed training colleges in our country, either from a private training college or public training college into our system. And some people also, when they entered the system, they went out to further their education in the university, having diploma certificates and then degree certificates. Some are also having master's certificates in our system. Now, government of Ghana Education Service does not award certificates into those universities. When you complete before, the university will award certificates for you. So when they bring this certificate, we give them posting into our schools.
Which is very good. So the ones that they have found with, fraudulent certificates, how did they sneak in?
Well, let me tell you, initially you would think you are trying to do the right thing. We always make sure that the district directors go through the certificate before getting the teachers that we have trained into the system. So when you complete training college and you become a diploma certificate holder, we have accepted that certificate from the training college. So the awarding institutions, they give us the certificate before we accept. So we respect them as reputable institutions, like all the training colleges that we have. So we accept the certificate into our system. And the universities, as I said, from Winneba, from Cape Coast, Kumasi, and Legon, or wherever they are coming from, before joining Ghana Education Service, they award a certificate and we accept whatever they bring into the system. It was as a result of cross-checking to make sure that we have the actual certificate before we got to know that there are some certificates that are in the system which we are telling as fake.
Let me just get this clear. If let's say Winneba, if they have a group of a batch that passes through, do the individuals come to seek for a job, or the university themselves post you the names and certificates to say these guys have finished?
No, the issue is that people are matriculated into the system, and when they graduate, they are awarded certificates, either diploma certificates or degree certificates.
Sure.
It depends on the number of years you offered your course over there. And we are also believing that there were people who actually did not even attend attending universities before coming. They are people, teachers, who claim that they have gone into university. In actual fact, there are some people who went to university on their own without studying leave from Ghana Education Service. Some people sponsored themselves to university and they graduated and they came back to Ghana Education Service, and we accept them. So we are believing that it's coming from this group of people. The certificates that we are telling as fake, most of them are coming from these people who are people, teachers in the system who wanted to upgrade themselves by submitting those certificates. So now, what the measures that we are putting in place is to make sure that we collect the matriculation book or handout, the graduation handout, to make sure that Jonathan Bette, as my name, was matriculated into Winneba University for 4 years, and had completed successfully, and the name appeared in all these the books I'm talking about. If my name appears, it means that really I have attended, and the certificate that I'm bringing out into the system comes from the awarding institution.
Well, I have a colleague, well, one of your colleague teachers in the studio. So I'll just take his viewpoint and then I'll come back to you if that's okay, Reverend.
Okay.
Good. His name is Stephen Densu. Stephen?
Yes.
Well, it's not your fault. I mean, the guys have gone through the system and sort of, provided a certificate. What can they do?
Well, for me, I think that the position of GES now is belated, really. These are things that they ought to have done way back in time before today. Because you see, the situation is that when you allow people, they leave with, of course, they will exploit the situation. So for me, it's a matter of people sleeping on their job for so long and people taking advantage of the situation. Record keeping GES is a problem, really. And so for me...
It's a problem nationwide anyway. But
yes.
We're talking about GES. Okay.
Yes. So it's a sector of the nation. So for me, as he's saying, if this is the way we want to go, well, I endorse that. But, I mean, moving into the future, I think that we should adopt appropriate technology in dealing with some of these issues, as he's talking about. Unless we do that, we are not going to solve this matter. With this business of present this and let me verify, present, let me verify. Could it be that if you finish university, you have a situation where the university will forward everything to the GES for them to have a database of all students who matriculated, as he's saying, so that if you present your documents, they can just easily check through whether the claims you are making, whether they are true or not. That's the way to verify. And for me, if you go down to Southern Africa, where you have South Africa, when you present your document as a teacher, before the Department of Education allows you to teach, they will have to verify from the University of Cape Coast, University of Education, Winneba, before you are allowed to teach in school.
To make sure that you came there?
Yes. Now look at the distance between South Africa and Ghana. If they've been able to do that since time immemorial, why can't you do that in Ghana? Since UCC, Winneba is still in Ghana. And so for me, it's about, some people abdicating their obligation and their duty, and that's the reason why genuine teachers who deserve their arrest are suffering. Because I know about 95% of the teachers out there are genuine. Only a few are the ones who are engaged in these malpractices. And that's what the malpractices is not only about face educate, it goes into other areas.
But I mean, Stephen, I mean, if you probably went to Winneba and I'm also in the school saying, well, I was in Winneba in 92. I mean, surely you should know, look, I don't remember seeing you, so you can be a teacher.
And that's the appropriate way of checking. The appropriate way of checking cannot be about whether you have a classmate or you don't have a classmate. Did you or did you not? And if we check from UCC, is it true that this year group you were able to complete?
No, but it ends up when everybody suffers, including you. You've done all your meal, you're a proper teacher, you want to impart lives, and then some crook, causing you your arrears, and you need the money to live. So maybe if you also ganged up and said, look, this guy, I don't remember him in school. Do you remember him? Do you remember him? Well, let's fish him out.
Well, some of the time, you may not see the person around you. For instance, you finish UCC. The person is teaching somewhere close to the Burkina border. How are you going to know whether the person is
there or not?
Yes. Look, when a teacher fakes certificate, he knows that there are teachers around who know that there are teachers who know that he didn't attend that school. So he take that fix, take what we call release from that district to a far distance district for him to be admitted into the system, so that nobody will question. And since GES cannot also cross-check from UCC or Winneba, that's a problem that we seem to have almost all the time. And so for me, it's a wake-up call, really. And the spectacle that was shown on television is something that must be really embarrassing to the nation in this day and age. 59 years of independence. You cannot be talking about this, going around in circles. And so for me, it's what we have right now, what you saw on television, is a symptom of a problem. The symptom here is this validation exercise that's going on. It's a symptom of another symptom called delay in payments of salary, and that is a symptom of lack of investment in checking and ensuring that when teachers are recruited, they are paid as soon as possible. It is a lack of investment in appropriate technology in dealing with this matter. When you use human, effort, in terms of saying somebody should endorse this, somebody endorse this, write this letter, people will surely tamper with the system. And when they do, of course, a teacher will not fake his certificate and you think that he will just forward it for him only to benefit. There are persons in the system who are helping him or her to do that. And so teachers are not alone. Those who do that are not alone. There are persons within the system who allow them to do that. And for me, if we talk about only teachers and really those in GES to go scot-free, it becomes a problem because they will continue doing what they are doing. And so for me, the lack of appropriate technology that the government needs to invest huge sums of money in the system, because the amount of money government loses as a result of ghost names on the payroll, GES being the largest labor force in Ghana as compared to the other sectors, where it is estimated that over 10,000 teachers or educational workers leave the class, leave the service every year. How do you check whether somebody is still in or out?
Let me go to Reverend. Hello, Reverend Betty.
Hello, my brother.
Is it a question of, you mentioned something that teacher was a calling, and I know, back in the day when the teacher had the long white socks, they were near to, the Catholic priest. Is it that trust that you've still left that, look, because they're going to be teachers, they will be noble and they'll do the right thing?
My brother, I want to say that teachers remain noble. We are still noble, but there are bad nuts in the system that wanted to, bring our reputation down. We are trying to make sure that all these challenges should be things of the past. So the current Director General of Ghana Education Service is not sitting down looking at these people. So we will be flashing out these people with many measures that we think we can apply to make sure that nobody enters into the system with these things. Now, by going to the training colleges and the universities which award, those that award the certificates, if I am getting your question right, I want to say that, as my brother said, there are some people also who endorses the certificates that these people attended. How do we know that really the person who endorses the certificate is the right person who endorsed the certificate, certifying that this certificate is a right one? We are going to find the measures of getting all those things right also. So please let us allow Ghana Education Service authorities also to find other better ways of addressing this issue.
With regards to the basic one, i.e., if I came to you and said, look, I am a presenter in PM Express and multi-TV, just the secretary picking up and saying, look, I have a gentleman here, he's wearing a smock and he says he's a presenter on Joy TV. Do you have anybody there like that? I mean, do you do that? Or
Ghana Education Service is sad that what is done in a very small sector is not possible to be done at this big or the largest sector in the whole country. The ministry, as you all know, is the biggest of all the agencies in Ghana. So getting those information as secular, within a small area, it's not possible. It's not possible. You see, but we trusted the work into the hands of people, if I have understood your question. We entrusted this duty into the hands of the district directors, training college principals, and then chancellors of the universities, registrars, to make sure that the certificates that come into our system are genuine certificates with their logo and everything. You understand? And there are people also in the system, because of the technology, are also tracing and doing their own thing, similar to what are given to people in this institution.
Reverend, I understand you there, but you know what I was just checking was if, let's say, I want to go and teach at Dumasa Primary, so I come to you with my certificate and say, look,
Yes.
I've passed out. Can you please post me to a Dumasa? I mean, is there nobody to, ring whichever school certificate to say, look, I have this chap here. Did he come to school and has he passed?
Oh, not really.
Not really. Okay.
We don't do that.
There's no protocol like that. Okay.
Yeah, it's not
okay.
visible yet.
So hold on for me, Reverend. I mean, there's no protocol like that.
So that's the problem that we have. So what systems are you going to put in place to ensure that moving forward you don't encounter some of the problems that we have now? Because ghost names on the payroll cost government so much.
See, but hold on. Is there any institution that would ring any universities? I don't think so, though.
No, you see, it's a matter of coordination, proper coordination.
No, I mean, is there any institution that would say, look, bring your university certificate? I want to call, the dean to make sure you came there.
You see, it's a matter of coordination. We have non-professional teachers from SHS who finished the Awasi, so WAEC should have data of them. So it's just a matter of reaching out to WAEC, say, provide data of all students who finished this year, and to provide it. In case some of them decide to be teachers, you verify whether it's true or not. You run through the system to check whether it's true or not, and you take them out if it's not true before you recruit them. So if you don't do this and you want to recruit them before you check, by the time you are aware, you have paid some already.
Stevie, are you putting too much pressure on GES because of some crooks that want to sneak in? I don't know.
No, but you see, some people want to be smart. And with every society, there are some elements who want to cheat the system, regardless of what you do. But it's the responsibility of the state to ensure that the genuine ones are not affected by the crooks in the system. And that's the reason why there are state institutions put in place to do some of these things. And so if you don't do that, and I am genuine and I suffer as a result of somebody's misbehavior, as a result of sending wrong documents to be paid 3 months, only for us to be told that, oh, hang on, we are going to scrutinize all of your documents before you pay the rest. And for me, it shows our lack of, it shows our unwillingness on our part to fight ghost names on the payroll, and again, to ensure that the genuine certificates in terms of those who hold it are in the classroom.
Let me catch up with some of the messages, because this seems to be a very popular subject. Says, good evening. I'm a teacher and I have gone through all these registrations. It appears to me that the GES, and for that matter, government, is confused and doesn't know what they actually want. They are intimidating and frustrating us with their countless head counts and registration. I did more than 10 head counts in the last academic year. Just last week, a BNI officer was in my school and for yet another registration exercise. What's all this? Are you aware that we do all this exercise at the people's expense? Because we always abandon the classroom anytime they come calling on us. They know where the problem is. They should go and fix it and leave us alone. This is Muntaka in Tamale. Let me go to another one here. This one says, the government and the GES are such irresponsible, just trying to set the public against teachers. The issue at stake is that government is owing teachers and should pay us instead of this rhetoric. Government should focus its lenses into the security service if it wants people with fake certificates. Somalia from Windana. It's a very popular subject, and messages are just coming in. I really like your program. Should the ghosts give problems to the legitimate ones? If no, then the government should pay those without fault. From Aquabus in Atebubu. Let me get another one. This says, Nana, this is Ernest Kuma, a teacher in the Akachi North District. The question is, why is there even a policy like the 3-month policy? I think the government is just being unfair to us. I can't get the logic in it. Ghana population has grown and technology has brought different options, and Ghana Education Service is doing things like we are in the 1970 before technological things began. It's only technology that can solve this problem. Prince in Jasi, that's what Prince is also talking about, what you mentioned about a biometric system.
Yes, he's endorsing what I was saying earlier on. See, the fact of the matter here is that the 3 months arrears policy is wrong. It's wrong because you only pay, only to say, hang on, you're coming to check all of you. Why don't you check them first and let them enter? And as soon as they enter, the salary is just paid in just, say, 2 months or 3 months' time. Can't it be done with technology?
So in this case, if you're paid 3 months and it turns out that your thing was dodgy, do you have to refund it, or what then happens?
Or many people then abscond, or they are nowhere to be found. They leave their classroom, and you never see them again. Most of the time, that's what is going to happen. Because the exercise that we are doing as a Mensvik at the moment, what is going to happen is that those who will be told to present set of documents for the arrears to be paid to them, if they don't, they will be given another chance to. After a certain period, if they don't, their names will be taken out of the payroll because they will seem as the ghost in the system. So that's what is going to happen after the audit process. So what we are doing now is the sourcing. So what we agreed on at the meeting with the Minister of Employment and Labor was that we will deal with only the teacher trainees, and then we cater for the others. But when we went to Mensvik Grand Hotel, what we discovered was that the documents were mixed up. So it needed to be sorted out, and then it will be decided whether you fall under re-engagement or new entrants or promotion or upgrading. So for instance, you say you're a teacher who has been upgraded, and then you present your documents. You have all your documents, but you don't have your certificate. Obviously, you can't convince those people there to accept that document. So it will be flagged in the system. So at the end of the day, all those documents that were not attached to the other documents for the arrears to be paid, messages will be sent to the district directors to forward it to the teachers that they should submit those documents. And as soon as they do so, it will be paid. The government has agreed that those who will pass through the validation this month, the government is prepared to pay.
Everything, all the backlog.
Yes. And that's the reason why we didn't call up the strike. We didn't call up because we never announced any strike, but it was an intention to go on strike if government does not do A, B, C, and D as we made the government aware of. So to say that we have called up the strike is a wrong choice of words to use. We rather took the threats away by the press conference we did yesterday at Mensvik Grand Hotel. So the whole idea here is this, that for me as teachers and as people who want the best for ourselves, and those of us who are genuine, we do not want other teachers to bring their fake certificates and all that. And look, there are teachers who promote themselves. Oh. Yes. What happens is that he's on a step. The two of us finish the same school. We're on the same level. But I will discover later that your salary is higher than mine. It's because somebody in the system has manipulated it to the extent that...
No, could be, maybe I'm teaching more lessons than you. Maybe I do 16 lessons, you're doing just 6.
GS doesn't work like that. GS doesn't work like that. It's the same salary, the same level, it should be the same salary. Unless you've done another course or been promoted, genuinely.
But you may not know.
Oh, there are rumors of teachers who fake promotion letters and they get their salary. The promotion...
Things are happening.
Yes. So when we do some of these things, we make life miserable for those who are genuine in the system. And these are some of the problems that we have.
One thing which I find amazing is that, so you're not paid in cash, as you. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't go and sit by a table and take cash.
No, we take from the bank.
Yeah. So I mean, these ghosts, don't they turn up at the bank? I mean, can't we just call a couple of bankers? I'm going to take a break, and when I come back, I want to find out from Reverend and from the teacher that, the BNI, as my teacher said, that keeps coming to the school and harassing them. Let's count, let's count, let's count. I'm wondering if the BNI has ever turned up at any commercial bank to say, look, I want to find out which ghost comes to cash this check. Stay tuned, I'm coming back. Well, thank you very much for staying, and we are looking at teacher registration issues, and teacher issues is priority. If you look at Ghana, teacher issues is a big priority. If this country is ever going to have any lifeline or second life, it's going to be through education. And here we are hustling teachers. Basically, I mean, there are too many ghost names in the system. People who just forged their certificate and entered the system. And now government is saying, look, I need to make sure those I'm paying are those who are working. So they're doing a head count and everybody has to bring their certificates physically, and then they start all over again. Now, those who are in the system legitimately are a bit frustrated, and understandably so. But the issue of ghost names have always been with us. But I've never ever heard, maybe, or you don't hear the aggressive nature to say, look, everybody takes their pay from maybe commercial bank, or they have quite a limited number of banks. Therefore, who came to cash this check? Because some of them have been on the system for years. Yeah. So who comes to cash the check? And Stephen Desu is with me in the studio, Innovative Teachers Association, and he's a prime servant, but he's also a teacher at Ekumfi Abraham JSS. Yeah. I'm sure maybe some of your sisters may be watching and giving you fans by the screen. You look like a very popular teacher. Stephen, I mean, certainly one ghost may turn up to cash their check, because I don't think there's a bank account in there that's overfilled because it's never been cleared. Why don't we just get the person who comes to cash it?
Well, most of the time they have their own clandestine way of getting the money checked. That's why controller came out with the issue that if your bank account details does not appear in your payslip, you'll be taken away. And when you provide your banking details, then it will be replaced, so that to check some of these ghost names. But you see, most of the time, since we don't apply technology in the things we do, when you're trying to catch those who want to beat the system, they also change their operation in terms of beating the system. And so for me, we have expertise in this country to deal with this matter. Issues of this nature. It's nothing, I mean, so strange that we cannot do. We are not asking successive government. When I say government, I don't mean this particular government. No. Because the issue has been there for years. And so it's akin to the flood issue in Accra. When it happened last year, what have we done? Few excavations here and there. And nobody is talking about it. We are in March.
Yesterday, you should have seen the floods.
Thank you. So you see, that's the system that we are in. So it will be, okay, we are at Mensvik. We finish with it, and then everybody goes to sleep. Then later, we'll still come back to the same problem. So again, the cheap approach, as in, you bring ESPV. You remember last time we came to Joy FM with the idea of ESPV system that is going to check ghosts. It has not solved the problem. And you read that issue that it will never solve the problem. A situation where a lot of human interference is involved before salaries will be paid will not solve the problem of ghost names in a system.
Why do you think we are so... We always want human, like he signs it, he stamps it, he prints it, he clips it, he staples it, and then why is there so many human, why do we like human interference? I mean, you're the teacher, you probably teach us to do that.
We like the human interference because we think that's the cheap approach, but this cheap thing is very expensive. If you look at the amount of money lost through some of these things, it's big. We're talking about 70% of tax revenue being spent to pay public sector workers. And so if you don't invest in appropriate technology in dealing with some of these matters, you have a situation where it keeps recurring almost all the time. And so the problem we have right now is a technology problem. If we adopt the best practices, which is done elsewhere in Ghana, we'll knock off this problem within a short time. But this business of you sign, you endorse, you stamp, you do this, you forward, we will not go anywhere with this because the system, the problem will still be here, and the genuine teachers will suffer as a result of this.
Look, I know I wanted to talk about registration and stuff, but since you're a teacher and education is one of my passion and my pet subjects.
Maybe the right word that you could use is recruitment.
Recruitment.
Yes, recruitment into the system.
Recruitment into the issues. Okay. Let me divert a bit, and I'm looking at the curricula. Sometimes it says overloaded. I mean, what's the issue? Is it something we have to look into, and what's the real problem?
Well, generally, we have systems that are built to solve problems. So if I buy a taxi, it will solve people's transportation needs. So what is the purpose of our educational system in Ghana? What is it meant to solve? That is the question that we need to ask ourselves. And the result is what you see at traffic intersection. That's the product. Pure water. Yeah. And all the things you see, that's the product of the system that we have. So our educational system is not really solving the problems in this country. It is in opposition to what's going on elsewhere. We live in a world where things are moving fast. We have a situation where knowledge is doubling almost every month. And so we need to be abreast with the time, but we don't. We must be abreast of the time, but we don't. We keep repeating the same old things, and we think that by virtue of repeating the same old thing, we will solve the problem. Coming back to the content of what is being taught in our school, I mean, by this time, it should be obvious to everybody that it's irrelevant. We are talking about artificial intelligence now, where other nations are moving towards the use of machines in solving most problems. Where others can send drones. What are we doing in our schools? Where we have a teacher teaching science on the board. Is that how nations are built based on this? Is that how Taiwan was built? Education is the only means by which nations can develop. The gold, the bauxite, the oil, and all the things that we pride ourselves with are useless. The world does not thrive on that. And so if anybody says that Ghana, some country like Singapore does not have natural resource, I ask, the human beings, the citizens,
what are they?
Are they artificial? It's the development of the brains of those people that will generate the wealth for the country. It is not the gold, because right now oil price has come down, and Nigerian economy is suffering, and ours too is suffering. But if we train ours properly, we'll have a situation where we will gain more than relying on these cocoa and gold, which is not performing well anyway. So with us as innovative teachers, what we are saying is that we need proper investment in all aspects of education. It is the lack of investment and the cheap approach. That's the reason why we are where we are as a country. We do not want to invest because the public school is now an orphan. It's like an orphan sleeping on the streets of Accra. We have a situation where government officials do not want to send their kids to our public schools because they know it is of poor quality. We have a situation where teachers do not want, giving opportunity to a teacher to send a son to a public school or a private school. The teacher prefers to send a child to a private school.
Even though they are teaching at the public school?
Of course. Yes. Even though he's teaching a public school, he prefers the son to attend a private school.
Wow.
So all of us have agreed that the public school is of poor quality. And so nobody cares.
Free school, free uniform, free sandals?
I think that this free business is the bin that is going to destroy everything. See, this business of free, of course, there are persons who lack really. And so they need to be given some incentive to come to school. I agree. But the question is, when you give them food to come to school, when you give them sandals to come to school, are they in school to play football and go back home? What are they? So the real reason why they are in school is what we must focus on, not giving them food to come and while away time in school and go back, and at the end of the day, there's nothing happening. And so for me, that is the problem with the educational system. We are not focused with whatever we are doing here. We don't know the problem that the current education system is supposed to solve. Because look, when we developed the GHS concept, we did not have globalization. But today, a child in my village is competing with a child in Taiwan. And so you cannot tell me that a teacher who is teaching science in my school, just drawing stuff on the board, is the one that is going to make the children understand the concept of what he is teaching, so that they will have the idea to develop something as they develop their minds. That is not the way to go. until we change that, we are not going anywhere with this business of whether it is free or whatever. There must be a proper direction. There must be a proper investment in one. Teachers need to be properly trained. You cannot train the teacher through chew and pour. I mean, our teachers are being taught to chew and pour and forget. And so when you were a teacher who passed through this process, what kind of teacher are you going to do? You know, the same chew and pour that you put in your school pupils, and that is the problem that we have. We are talking about a situation where a teacher is taught to come and teach ICT, but the teacher himself does not even touch a laptop in the school. How could it be? But he's holding a certificate. So these are some of the problems. How many of our schools have science laboratories, GHS? We don't have. So if we don't have it, how can we train our students to have curious mind, provoke their thought, to have ideas or to develop ideas that will solve our problem? And so the environment to train our school children is not conducive for the kind of development that we want. We wish, but we are not putting in the necessary effort to ensure that the right things are done.
Is it a system that we have set up and it's difficult to break up, or is it an individual who is there who is saying, look, I can't be bothered? Why are we so locked up and unable to break from the old and enter what's happening in the new world?
Well, sometimes when you analyze the situation, you may not understand really what is going on, because we have our public officials traveling in and out of the country. They read, they understand issues, they know exactly what is going on elsewhere. So the question is, why is it that they are not committed in dealing with some of these issues? And sometimes when you think about it, you only become cynical with the thoughts that comes to your head. And the idea is this: give the people so-called free education. You give them free education because they know that there's no education going on in our schools. Just like Professor Lumumba, who came to Ghana, talk about corruption, said, when the politicians talk about giving the people free education, he knows that there's no education going on in our school because it is free of education. So what you have in Ghana is rather schooling, not education. So it's the schooling business that champions chew and pour. And that results in this examination malpractices that happens almost every year with our BECE and SSC. So everything's about examination. If you don't pass your exam, then you are in trouble. So people must find ways and means of doing so. How about if it was practical? Who is going to take up? And that is what education is supposed to be.
You have to build
and not your ability to wave your certificate that I have this, I have that. And then you cannot do jack.
Well, this one says, good evening, Nana. With the teacher verification too, you are playing devil's advocate. In my organization, the Human Resource Department will do a double check on applicant certificates. This is Pa from Dunkwa. I'm surprised Nana seems not to be abreast with the reality. We are in the technology age. This is Pa in Dunkwa. Thank you very much, Pa. There's so many messages. Let me try and catch up. Why are we always on the teachers but never hunt those who recruit them? We should target those directors and IPPD officers who recruit and put the fake teachers into the system. This is Songoti from Sirigu in the Upper East. Let me take this one. Hold on. Ghana can develop well unless we change our educational system. This is Philip in Ho. Let me go here. It says, ask your guest, if I am promoted, do I have to attach my certificate while I have attached the promotion letter? This is EG from PS to AD2. Example, from P/S to AD2.
No, you don't need your certificate. The promotion criteria, you don't need your certificate.
Okay.
If they're upgrading, if you say you have been upgraded in your university, obviously you have to provide that certificate that shows that you have been upgraded, and that's why you need your certificate. By promotion, you don't.
Need it. Okay, this one says, Nana, good evening. I was thinking about this issue this afternoon. We are in a country where policymakers, politicians promise citizens of free education but spend huge sums of money on the education of the awards. You spend about 6 to 8 Ghana cedis on the award of the ordinary citizen, but spend at least 2,000 Ghana cedis only on tuition a term for their children. Politics everywhere. How will the school be run to give a better or expected education the citizens want? This is Joe and Elmina. Let me take a break. I'll come back, catch up with some of your messages, and I'll be talking to Stephen. Well, thank you very much for staying. And this maybe catch up with some of your messages, because I mean, there's lots and lots coming in. Hi, Nana, please. I have thought for 3 years. Can you please ask the leaders of the teacher unions when we are going to be paid? Sam Atta in Sunyani. Hi, some of us have thought for 3 years without staff IDs. Again, from the same person. This one says some of the teachers are holders of HND, but they are employed on WASI. Is there any sense in this? Oh, what a country. People in authority should do something about this. This is Della in K2 North. Let me go here. Nana, those of us who completed college in 2015 are now on the field, still on allowance. Surprisingly, some of us have been graded as people teachers on our pay slips with a gross allowance of 604 Ghana cedis, 604 Ghana cedis, and a net of 553, while others on the same year group are graded as teacher trainee with a gross allowance of 543 and a net of 489 Ghana cedis. The so-called people teachers pay less tax than the teacher trainee. Now, please find out from the Controller and Accountant General's Department for us. Gideon in Mankasim. That's close to you. That's close to you. Let me catch up with one more. This one says, some IPPD officers who have been entrusted to do this job have direct link with the people at the controller, and just a matter of communication, people are paid without documentation. This is Charles in Takoradi, and I think maybe we need to get a couple of you guys in, because the amount of messages coming, this is a big topic. Please ask your guests whether we, those who are teaching without salary for the past 3 years, will be paid or not. Ask your guest, when will we get our staff IDs? I don't know if you're the right person to ask.
No, I'm the wrong person to
okay, I think Reverend would have been the right person, but Reverend is gone off now. He was driving and he parked to talk to us, so he had to continue. Let me get one of the this one early message, and then we'll come to studio. Nana, what's your guest saying? What your guest is saying is true. I got my promotion to AD2 with a colleague head, but she is receiving a higher pay than me. I'm a teacher in Sunyani.
So these are the issues. So if you don't put in measures to ensure that the right things are done, where there's a database of those who have been promoted, so if you bring your promotional letter, we just run through it. If you see that's not true, we just kick it out. So for me, we've been, playing with some of these things for too long, and it's about time we took responsibility for some of these things. For me, it's a collective failure. You see, but the greater responsibility must be placed at the doorstep of government. And when I say government, I don't mean this particular government, but successive governments who just come and look at the problem, lament. And that's the problem with Ghana. We only lament about the problem, but we don't solve the problem. The lamentations, as I've come to know, will never solve any of our problems. It's those who take action, appropriate action, that will solve problems. That will nip this issue in the bud. Otherwise, it will keep repeating itself. How can somebody teach for 3 years? That's a lie. Wow. What kind of teaching will be there in a classroom then? Because you see, when you are teaching and you are under financial stress, your mind is absent in a classroom, but your body is just in a classroom. And that's the kind of teaching that's going on. So you could just imagine the result that you're going to get.
3 years?
Yes, some 2.5 years. With that salary. So
how do you go to school?
Some people borrow. So your loans will be compounding. And you wait till you wait till when you get paid, and then you get your this. But let me assure those teachers who are genuine that if after the Mensvik exercise. If you are genuine and your documents are intact, this month your salary will come. That's what the government has assured us, and that's the reason why we took the threat to go on strike away. And now the threat is no more there.
This one says, good evening, and I admire your smoke this evening. Well, thank you very much. Concerning teachers, this topic can be exhausted this evening, and for that matter, needs to be treated another day. This week, your sister station, Adom FM, on their morning show hosted by Captain Smart, did the topic, and it's about teachers and directors and misappropriation of funds. The whole system needs to be overhauled, and if better, we need to go back to the 60s, which I believe and know that system was the best. And I will help us, and that will help us as a nation. This is Rutulus Bandita, Rootsma from New Akrade. I was in Akrade on Monday. Came to see Ukrukata the 6th, my friend. My brother, but a teacher is a very important institution. I mean, that we shouldn't mess with. Why have we left it to, to this denigrate? Well, a teacher will not be paid for 3 years.
It's part of the thinking of the elite. And so for me, it comes back to the same issue of leaving the public school to be like an orphan in the streets of Accra or anywhere in Ghana, where nobody cares about how the orphan cares for himself or herself. And so it's an issue where, well, I have the means to take care of my kids in schools abroad or in Ghana, and I don't simply care. What I can promise you is free education or progressively free education, and both of them are not the solution. Because you see,
this staff ID, getting so many questions.
The staff ID issue is not for me to answer. That's GES job. I'm a little bit activist.
No, but maybe you may know. How do they get it? What should they do?
It is given to them by the service, GES. When you are recruited, you are given staff ID. There's no way. Yes, there's no way you should start teaching when you don't have a staff ID. And I'm wondering why you start teaching when you don't have a staff ID. So how will you be paid then? How are you going to be paid? If you don't have a staff ID, your staff ID should be given to you before your documents are processed for you to be paid. So if you don't have a staff ID, look, you are Nana Ansakwa. I can also be Nana Ansakwa. So how do you differentiate? It's the staff ID that will differentiate. But if you don't have it, how can you be paid? So your staff ID is more important than even your name. So if you don't have it, how can you be paid? So for me, that's not for me to answer anyway. That's GES job.
So if you're looking at getting into the system, or if you're already in there, you must, hands down for this staff ID. Sounds terrible because everybody keeps quite a number of messages coming. I mean, I think we have to continue this conversation, maybe from a different angle, just looking at the teacher per se. I want to look at how the teacher is trained, because that's also very fundamental. Who are you unleashing, if I may use the word, onto the children, and particularly from, let's say, kindergarten to class 6, the formative years of a child's life. Who are we unleashing on them? Anis Hafa said in Sweden, if you don't have like a double master's, forget about class 1 in kindergarten. They won't let you go close. And it was actually easier to go into medical school than to go into teaching.
Just like Finland. It's easier for you to be a doctor there than to be a teacher. Because you see, if we implemented the same issue here, for example, if the lead teacher is paid 4,000 Ghana cedis, many persons who have left the classroom will come back. And the teaching will be more competitive. There will be more supervision than what you have now.
And high caliber
of course, persons teaching. And so the quality will be better. But since you are paying peanuts, this is what you get. And you are not supervising it on top of it, this is what you get.
Stephen, I'm going to try and see, talk to the producers and try and get you back. And then we'll break it up and do probably the training, the people who come in, what training they get, and when we unleash them and the products we are getting, because I think it's a subject that has to be talked about. But thank you so much for all the messages you've been sending in. And once again, 26th of March, inviting you all, including Stephen. You haven't been to Edumasan before. Come to Akwamu Edumasan, witness my 5-year anniversary, introduction of Awo Danswa, her library and reading project, my school project, the planning of our town. It's a massive and beautiful festival be graced by Odeno Hunkwafakuto III himself. Togbe Sri Awomefia of Angono. You don't want to miss this festival. Colorful and culture. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow we'll be back to do this all over again.